First man in as always, Charlie. Give it till about 3 minutes past, guys, just to give everyone a chance to get in, and then we'll kick off. I don't think I've taken a trade in 2 weeks either. So I don't know whether that gives you any comfort on them, but yeah, market conditions have just been tricky. Yeah, market conditions have just been tricky. Like, yeah. I keep gravitating more and more and more towards the M15 all the time, just because I can see the POIs and the market structure and the frameworks playing out. But yeah, do you trade one pair or do you trade AU as well? Five in the M15. Yeah, right. I would say 2 weeks. Like taking a trading that many pairs probably maybe is a bit too conservative, but I don't really know. I don't really look at anything apart from EU and AU, so I don't really know what the price action's been like on GU or any of them. But yeah, maybe. Have you had any no tags, or is it just literally no setups? Or
Hello guys, how are you doing?
well, Tomas, how's things?
How are you doing, mate?
Good. How are you?
Very good. In terms of the trading opportunities on DAX, I was talking with Alex. It's been very tricky. I'm grateful because I actually have the M15 on the side, but DAX itself is very range. But not sure about the EU and AU, but DAX definitely not the best.
Yeah, they've been tricky. Like EU this week, it's like, you know, whenever it's sold off and it's like you've had the break of structure, but the end, you know, the internal is still bearish, etc. And then you're constantly waiting for the pullback, but then the pullback doesn't come. And then I had a no tag yesterday, the same one as Matt. But it's just sort of tricky when you're waiting for sort of the pullback, but then it doesn't come. But hopefully Evan will clean up soon.
Or when it comes, it's news announcement. So
yeah, that's exactly it. Like our outside session hours seems to be more of an issue recently as well.
yeah, I mean that with them was real annoying. I mean, if like half past 10 or even 11, sometimes it's outside session, of course, and we can take those clean setups, and that's when M15 can be very nice because you just take the entire range. You don't care about like adding a little bit more pips to the stop loss. So in the end of the day, price can just go sideways inside a big candle on M15 and just commit after like New York or something like that.
Yeah, that's the big benefit of M15, I think, because it's like you miss the M1 setup and then you're just basically spending, like say it sets up during the London,
Yeah.
you're really just watching it set off during New York. It's like really, but yeah, it's another reason why the M15 could be the way forward, I think.
Yeah, it's very annoying.
But 1 to 2 no tags, Charlie. Maybe look at widening your criteria, sort of, because that does seem very sort of for trading 5 pairs in M15. That does seem to have only had like 1 or 2 what you perceived as an opportunity over a couple of weeks. I would say maybe that is, yeah, risk entries probably would be the answer. I think, Tomas, the new experiment with basically taking M15 shocks from.
Yeah, basically what and this will be of course soon, guys, on the course. Something that we've been working as a team behind the scenes a lot, and it's nice that we can finally say that is coming soon. But in terms of M15, I personally don't take so much risk entries straight away when we are trying to take, for example, M15 PYs within H4. I actually wait for the M15 chalk and then classify everything the same. As if the flip swap liquidity, I take the flip. If not, I take the extreme. So basically, it takes a little bit more time to develop, but that's the reason why I went to M15 is the style of trading is more appealing to me. And if you want, you can add just one more pair. And yeah, the setups are there. On average, is around 5, so 5 to 6 per month. So yeah, it's a decent number in my opinion.
Yeah, it's like I just keep I've like really been zeroing in on like M15 POI selection, and it's like sort of approaching it from the mindset of why wouldn't you wait for the M15 extreme? Like, you know, if there's unless there's some like super clear POI before the extreme, you know, that meets nearly all the criteria, like swap, you know, clear sweep liquidity, all that. It's like, why wouldn't you just play, you know, wait for the extreme? So approaching it from that sort of mindset has sort of helped me sort of filter out the lower probability M1 trades, but still, yeah, I think the M15 in terms of like the amount of no tags, because like the last month I think I had like 2 or 3 no tags that like they all ran for 10 or, and then it's like you're literally missed by a pip, whatever. Whereas like you could have just taken the risk entry in the POI and had 5 or, and it's like you're it's like I'm old school. I think you're old school as well. It's like I'm an over 5% or 5 or in a trade. I'm happy out. Like,
yeah.
But crack on this now, Anna. So today's title is Pressure to Perform and Strategies for Optimizing Decision Making and Trading. So trying to put together like more of a formal sort of structured mindset course or program, whatever you want to call it, with like the ultimate goal is to basically to bridge the gap between like technical proficiency and profitability, because what a lot of people find is they're, you know, they master the technicals, you know, they can map the structure, they have all that down, but and like maybe they're passing challenges, whatever, but then like whenever it comes to sort of actually real profitability, like consistently month after month taking real money out of the market, like that's where psychology comes into it a lot more. And really just thinking about like putting something together where we can like bridge the gap between the two of those, where it's like very practical, hands-on, and you know, it's not just theory, it's like very practical with like, you know, this is what you do, that sort of thing. So that's sort of the goal of that. And then it was just sort of thinking about sort of the concept of like, you know, sources of pressure in trading, and then sort of just how it can massively affect your decision making. So I thought I would put this together. Hopefully some of you will enjoy it, get something from it. So like, to summarize a trader's job in one sentence, it's very simply making the optimal decision relative to their trading plan when it is required. It's as simple as that there, but obviously it's definitely not easy. So that's literally what it is. Like, you have your trading plan, you have your criteria, and then basically your goal is that when your edge presents in the market, when the criteria in your trading plan is met, you just execute. You don't even think about it. You're in the optimal frame of mind to pull the trigger, and you zero emotion, you just let it play out and accept the outcome, because again, and the optimal decision might have a suboptimal outcome, because as we know, we can't control the wins and losses, the sequences of those wins and losses or anything like that there. So that's literally what our plan is, or our job is, making the optimal decision relative to our trading plan when it is required. So simple, but not easy. So what prevents us from making an optimal decision? Like, whenever the time comes and it's time to pull the trigger, what stops us? It's like, we all have a limited amount of mental bandwidth to use for decision making. It's like, you know, whenever you're under a lot of pressure at work, whatever, and it's like you're constantly making decisions and you just feel completely drained, your head's fried, it's like you feel as though you can't think, you feel as though you don't even know what day of the week it is. That's because like we just have a limited amount of capacity to make those decisions. It's like that's why like the majority of our decision making, like some people say 80, even 90% of our decision making is done at a subconscious level. So you think like about driving a car, obviously when we're learning how to drive, you have to think consciously about what you're doing with like changing gears, etc., etc. But then obviously it becomes subconscious, and then you can basically drive wherever you want without really thinking about it. And that's basically why so much of our thinking is done subconsciously. It's basically our brain's way of saving energy. So obviously most of this is going to be through the lens of trading, because that's sort of what we're into, and that's what Photon is, a trading course. But obviously this can like apply to anything you're doing, like whether it's a business, your job, whatever. So the goal is you want to reserve the majority of the decision making power for tasks that move us towards our goals. It's like, you don't want to be wasting decisions on like simple things, like the famous one is like Steve Jobs wearing the black turtleneck every day, because he basically didn't want to have to waste time in the morning making a decision on what he was wearing. I think Zuckerberg wears a grey t-shirt as well. It's like, we basically want to automate as much of that stuff as possible and that will leave us as much bandwidth as possible to basically focus on tasks that want to move us towards our goal, which is obviously for us as trading. Yeah, so obviously we want to reserve for trading, and then obviously to help with this, we must eliminate and reduce the number of decisions we make every day. So that's both, you know, automating things as much as possible and just getting rid of some things out of your life, like some things that don't serve you, like just get rid of social media. If it's something that, you know, you're wasting mental energy on, just get rid of it. Don't look at it. And then obviously reducing the decisions, that can be like, I don't know, using a meal prep company so that you don't have to think about what you're eating, wear the same clothes, whatever you want in that regard. So sources of pressure, like we all have various sources of pressure. It's like everyone's going to be slightly different in this regard. You know, what I feel is pressure, you may not. You might feel some source of pressure that I don't. Everyone's sort of individualistic in this regard. It's like some of these are internal and some are external. Internal are basically source of pressure that we can generally control. It's like we can sort of work on them, improve them, turn weaknesses into strengths, essentially. External is more difficult because basically the things that are outside of our control. I'll go through some examples in a minute, but like, you know, might have financial pressures, you know, pressure from relationships, things like that. So the problem with these pressures is when it comes to trading is that they invariably result in pressure to perform, which conversely massively impacts our ability to make optimal decisions and therefore massively inhibits our performance. So that's the thing, is like the pressure to perform. It's like when you come to the markets, you don't want to be under any pressure. You want to be able to sit there and watch the price action play out and happily say there was no setup for me today, or take your loss, take your win, whatever came up. You know, whenever you have pressures, whether they're internal or external, you know, if you feel internally that you need validation from the market, that you need to have a winning trade to prove that you're a good trader, you're putting pressure on yourself to find a winner, and you're basically grappling with this pressure to find a winner. And you, like we all know, whenever you have like the conversation in your head, whenever you're deciding whether you should take a trade or not, and it's like you have the devil in your shoulder saying hit it, and then you have the sensible head on the other shoulder saying no, it's not a good setup. And you can just, it's like you're constantly grappling between this, and it is draining. Like it drains the mental energy out of it. So yeah, that's where sort of pressures come in. Then internal pressures, as I said, they're generally within our control. So mindset, trading edge, beliefs, self-image, discipline, work ethic are all good examples of things that are within our control. Now, obviously, you can associate with all them being positives, and you think like, oh yeah, I have I've developed a trader's mindset. I have a defined edge in the market. I have empowering beliefs. I have a positive self-image. I'm disciplined. I have a good work ethic. But where the pressures generally come from is when you haven't quite brought these up to standard yet. You know, if you haven't quite developed the trader's mindset and you've taken a couple of losses and you're not able to just chalk it down to probabilities. It's like it's eating at you. It's like, you know, you're thinking, oh, I'm not a good trader. And then that's where sort of the pressure can come. And that can lead to you sort of grappling with like the negative thoughts, which is where the energy drain comes in. You know, the thing with all these is that you can work, like most people, like for some people, some of these will come naturally. Like they'll just naturally be disciplined. They'll naturally have empowering beliefs. They'll naturally have a good self-image. Whereas for a lot of people, they won't. You know, these things will start off as negatives, and you have to work at them to basically develop them. Because like nobody's a natural born trader. I don't believe that for a second. I think everyone struggles with some aspect of trading that they have to bring up to speed before they can be consistently profitable. So the internal pressures, the main benefit of them is that basically they're in our control, and we can work to improve them and minimize the sort of negative effect they have on our thinking. And then the external pressures, this is where it gets sort of slightly more difficult. They're generally outside of our control to varying degrees, of course. Like, you know, like relationships are obviously a source of pressure. You know, maybe your family's putting pressure on you, like, oh, you're wasting your time trading, you're not making any money, what are you doing, you're wasting your life, that sort of thing. That's outside of our control to a certain degree, but then obviously you can't just turn around and say, you can just be utterly ruthless and just cut your family out. So it is within your control to a certain degree, but I'm not advocating anyone cutting their family out on it, but that's just an example. It's the same with like being overly concerned with opinions of others. You know, you can sort of, if you realize the negative effect that has on you, you can sort of just cut it out and decide that you don't care. Realize that other people's opinions don't really matter, that it's what you're doing that is the most important thing. Then there's obviously financial pressure. You know, if you've like if you've taken the plunge into full-time trading or something too soon, and you haven't got the cash buffer of 6 months living expenses separate to your trading capital, then you're going to come under pressure, and that's massively going to affect your decision-making process. Because it's like, if you're approaching the markets thinking that I have bills to pay, I need a winning trade, I need to bank 10 or here, or else I'm not going to be able to eat this month, then that is massively going to affect your decision-making. And again, you're sitting there at the charts and you've got the devil in your shoulder saying just YOLO into something and hope it plays out. And it's that constant sort of grappling between good and the good and bad that can really sort of affect your ability to pull the trigger whenever the time comes. Time pressure, that can be like, you know, maybe you've set yourself a ridiculous timeline for reaching consistency. Like I think, like, I know for a fact people come into Photon thinking that they're going to be consistent in 3 months. It's like, I don't think that's remotely feasible at all, because trading is the absolute definition of it. It's relatively simple, but it's definitely far from easy. In that, you know, you can learn the technical analysis, you can learn the Photon strategy, but then whenever it comes to actually executing that consistently, it's a whole different ballgame. Which is again where this sort of, you know, the concept of like, how do you optimize your decision making, like that's obviously the next step after, once you've mastered the technical analysis side. Like, you know, it's like, how can I make sure I'm optimally executing my plan whenever the time comes. Another time pressure can be like, maybe your strategy just doesn't fit your lifestyle. Like if you're trying to trade the M1 and you have a job, maybe it's just not feasible, and you just need to accept that, and rather than try and force it, just take a step back and say, I'm just going to trade the M15 or the 4-hour or whatever, and then reevaluate things down the road. And then social media pressure, the most ridiculous of them all, but it seems to be a massive problem with people, particularly the younger generation. Basically, the people feel the pressure to basically show off on social media that they need to be sharing the winning trades. They need to be basically receiving validation that way. And then again, if you haven't taken a trade for a few weeks and you feel it, and you're thinking, oh, all my social media followers are going to be thinking I'm a shit trader now, that can again lead to you sort of making suboptimal decisions and like taking bad trades just to try and chase that win, which again just puts pressure on your whole trading process. And then, as I said, these are generally harder to deal with, and in a lot of cases, if you just want to be completely ruthless, so that you just need to completely eliminate the source, like delete your social media accounts, bin your girlfriend, whatever it is you need to do. Whatever it is you need to do. So then, how do they affect our performance? Well, grappling with these pressures on a daily basis uses up a great deal of our mental bandwidth. So like, if you like, think a decent analogy is the angel and the devil on the shoulder, that they're both giving their opinion, and you're oscillating between the two, and it's that constant back and forth is just draining. You just want to be ice cold. Yes, no, it fits my plan, doesn't. So obviously, the issue then with grappling with these pressures, they're generally detrimental to our performance. Like there's very little positive about them, in that they generally mess up our performance. They don't help our performance in any way, shape, or form. And then obviously, whenever it comes to our trading, they reduce the bandwidth we have to make the optimal decision, which, as we said, is basically the only thing that matters as a trader. And then if you're not ready, if you're not there and ready to make the optimal decision at the point that it matters, when your edge presents, that's whenever you get the poor performance. That's where you get the missed trades, the invalid trades, and then that's whenever things can sort of spiral. So that's sort of why it's important to understand the pressures and how they affect you. And that is that really. So as an example, you're affected by financial pressures because you quit your job after getting funded and underestimated the mental side. Underestimated the mental side of trading for a living. You feel immense pressure to hit a winning trade because you have bills to pay. You are constantly battling the urge to YOLO into a trade. You successfully fight the urge But then when the edge presents, you were not in the zone and missed the trade to play out. And again, with this strategy, it's generally the trades that you miss that are they're the ones that are going to affect you the most, because again, it's a high risk to reward strategy. So you need to make sure you're sort of banking the winners, so that when they do play out, you do bank your 5 or 10 or whatever it is. So yeah, that's a classic example of the external pressure stealing your mental bandwidth, resulting in you not being able to make the optimal decision at the time it was required. Because again, the thing that people struggle with trading is that, like full-time trading, professional trading, there's an awful lot of waiting involved. It's like you're waiting for your edge to present, and that's your job. It's like your edge might present 2, 3, 4 times in a month for 2 wins, 2 losses, and that's it. The rest of your time, you're just sitting on your hands waiting for that to happen. So that sort of messes with how we were conditioned, sort of growing up, social conditioning, teachers, parents, where it's like, oh, it's hard work. I know you have to be constantly moving, and trading is like completely opposite of that. It's just waiting, and it's literally, there's 4 moments in a month maybe where you have to be ready to pull the trigger and make the optimal decision. And if you're not in the position to do that, then that's whenever your results can really get skewed. So who doesn't love a gambling analogy? Obviously, there's a lot of, with roulette and things like that, there are probabilities, a lot of relation, quite a crossover with trading. But just to introduce this sort of analogy, like the concept of chips. So every day, think about it as though every day we have a certain number of chips to play with. So let's say you sleep for 8 hours, that leaves you 16 chips. So essentially what we want to do is we want to allocate these chips, which are essentially our time, in such a way that we will see a return on investment over time. So obviously, basically, you want to pick the right number in roulette, essentially. But it's a game of probabilities, as with trading. So we want to naturally stack the odds as much in our favor as possible, so we have the greatest chance of achieving the best return on our investment. So we want to be strategic with where we place our chips. Now, it's not feasible that you're going to put the 16 chips into trading. You might put 8 of them into trading, and then you might put 2 into health and fitness, 4 into family, whatever. Everyone's going to be, you might have to put 8 into your job, whatever. But you just have to think about the chips, and just think about whenever you're taking a chip, and whenever you're deciding what you're doing with your time, you're basically essentially taking a chip and you're placing it on the number in roulette, and you're hoping to see a return on that. So this means we have to be strategic and ruthless with how we allocate our time, because the ultimate goal with freedom, essentially we want to be able to control how we allocate our time. So how we choose to allocate our time will vary from person to person. Everyone has different priorities. Some will be able to put everything into trading. If you're younger, maybe that's you. Others will want to allocate more time to their family, their career, or other passions, whether it's a business, hobby, whatever. You need to find what works for you. It's like, as we always say, consistency over perfection. It's like, yes, it might sound great saying I'm going to allocate 16 chips a day to trading, but you'll burn out. You'll get sick of it after a week. So you're better off just, if you can realistically allocate 5 hours a day to trading, or 3 hours a day, whatever it is, you're better off just doing that and doing it consistently, and just letting the wins compound over time, as opposed to trying to aim for perfection. So like, this is pretty much like one of the keys to like living a successful, happy life. It's like optimizing these decisions on a daily basis is absolutely key to success. Most people allow other people to allocate the chips for them, and then wonder why they're not where they want to be in their lives. It's like, when you think about it, the concept of leverage, if you're working for somebody else, they're essentially using 8 of your chips to build their business, build their dream, build their fund, whatever it is they're doing. So you ideally want to be the one using other people's chips as well as your own, as opposed to letting other people use your chips. That's the ultimate goal. You want to have complete control over how you spend your time. And that's not to say that you're going to be happy all the time, that you're going to lie on a beach all the time, but just that you can literally choose what you're working on. And that to me is true freedom. I can't really summarize any more than that. That it's freedom to me, it's not living a life free of stress, it's not living a life free of worry, anything like that there, but it's just, I get to choose whatever I do, whatever I want to do with my time. And if something causes me too much stress that I decide it's not worth the hassle, that I can just cut it out and forget about it, because it's just not worth it. So how do we allocate our chips effectively? basically you want to use decision-making filters to, one, maximize efficiency, and two, optimize speed. So obviously a filter is something basically where you're basically picking, like if you, I don't know how to exactly describe it, if you're basically picking and choosing, you know, what you want to focus on, what you don't want to focus on. I think that's the best way. So maximize efficiency. We want to make the most of our time by creating space. We want to effectively make sure that we have the space to work on what we want to work on and what we need to work on, you know, what moves us forward, as opposed to working on low value tasks that maybe they're of value to somebody else but not you. So we just want to create the space to basically do what we need to do to move our lives forward. And then optimize speed. Basically, you want to be ruthless in cutting things out. You want absolute clarity on what we are focused on and choosing how we're spending our time. So that's really, you want to filter things out, and then that should let you move faster in the direction that you want to go. So just this diagram for decision-making filters. So the first stage is obviously where you've no filters, where basically common sort of feelings, emotions are overwhelm, lack of clarity, decision fatigue. You know, you're not following your trading plan, you're missing trades. It's just for overwhelm, pretty much frustration would be the best way to describe it. Then sort of you apply the first filter, which is prioritization, execution, and controlling the flow, which I'll go through in more detail in a minute. And then basically you eliminate anything that is not aligned to your priorities. And then you apply the second filter, play into your strengths, which make sure you're sort of focusing on what you are good at, like what you need to be doing to move the needle for you. And then basically that sort of at the end of this process should be optimal performance. Now I'll go through these in a bit more detail. So the first filter, prioritization, speed, and controlling the flow. So the aim here is like, it's just like with our trading plan. You want to have mechanical repeatable criteria that determines what we allow into our headspace in the first place. So you want to be able to say straight away, without even thinking, no, that's no good to me. That is of no benefit to me whatsoever. That's not helping me move forward my trading. That's not helping me in whatever area I want to focus on. I don't even want to think about it. I'm not even considering it. So you have to get clear on what your priorities are. So, you know, it might be, you want to be as specific as possible. First of all, like, you know, you don't just want to say, oh, my priorities are money, or my priorities are, you know, trading. You want to sort of get as specific as possible. Like, you know, I want to be a consistent trader. That's my priority. Or I want a good, healthy relationship, or I want optimal health. Like, you know, you want to get as specific as possible. You can include whatever areas you want, whatever matters to you, trading, relationships, health, investing, whatever it is, whatever you decide your priorities are. And that's the most important thing. It's you. It's like, my priorities are going to be different to yours. It's like, as I was saying to somebody in the Discord over the weekend, it's like, I'm slightly older, so at this point, full-time trading is basically, it's the best use of my time and my capital. Whereas, you know, like I know a member of Photon who's younger. I think he's 20, and he's decided he's going back to university. And I absolutely encourage him to do that, because my time in university was, I wouldn't trade at floor, because you have a 3 or 4 year window to do that, where you can mess about, party a lot, make great friends. And I would encourage everyone to do that. But then obviously I would still absolutely recommend being a full-time trader as well. But it's important to understand that at this stage of my life, yes, that is what I want to be doing. But if I was 20 again, I'd probably want to be back in Belfast, living in the Holy Lands, partying with all my friends. But unfortunately, you can't turn the clock back. Yeah, so that's the first filter. Yeah, having clarity on your priorities allows you to quickly say no and control the flow, while reducing the mental energy spent making decisions. So again, just knowing straight away, right, trading's my priority, and then something comes into your life. Do you want to, I don't know, do you want to go to a party on a Wednesday night? And you can just say no, because I want to be up in the morning for trading. It's like, just, you understand trading's a priority, and basically you can quickly say no, that doesn't suit me, that doesn't align with my priority at the minute. So say your priority of trading is to be fully funded with FTMO by the end of the year. You want to make sure that every day you're allocating the majority of your chips to activities that move you towards this goal. And just as importantly, avoiding allocating your chips to low value activities that don't bring you closer to this goal. and then like be ruthless and deliberate with who and what you allow into your headspace. I can't emphasize that enough, because I sort of completely had to cut myself off. It's like, I'm 33 now, and sort of 3 or 4 years ago, I had to just completely cut myself off from a lot of my friends. And at Christmas, I sort of felt the effects of that. I was sort of like, right, I've maybe isolated myself a bit too much here. But I had to do that at the time, because I just had to be 100% focused on trading. And I just had to be 100% focused on me. And it's like, I couldn't be going out partying at the weekends. They were all sort of starting to get married, have kids and all that stuff. I wasn't at that stage in my life either. I sort of wanted to do this. And you just have to accept that that's going to happen, that times change, people change, your priorities change, and that it's perfectly okay to sort of isolate yourself slightly, take a step back and just completely focus on yourself. And, because like a lot of them, I tell a lot of them now that I'm sort of a trader and all, but I didn't really tell them what I was doing 3 or 4 years ago, just because I didn't really want to get into the conversation with it, because again, it's relationship pressure where you're telling people, I am doing this trading thing, and it's like, oh, how much money did you make? It's like, oh, I haven't really made any money yet. And then it's like, just because what? So you're not making any money? What's the point in what you're doing? It's like, yeah, but it's like, when you understand trading, it's like, you understand that it's all about acquiring the skill, and that once you have the skill, the capital will find you, and then you sort of instantly start making good money. So you just had to sort of isolate myself and just focus on that. And yeah, but I am sort of trying to get out of the house a bit more now, to try and sort of make up relations. But I was just ruthless with what I let in my headspace, and it was the best thing I ever did. And but just be careful if you do the same as me. Make sure you don't sort of actively fall out with people. I just sort of withdrew, but still I kept in contact with them and all. I just didn't see them as much, didn't talk to them as much. But I wouldn't recommend really actively falling out of them, because then it's very hard to go back to them down the line and make up again. But I just thought I'd throw that little anecdote in there. So an example, you get a great deal of external validation from sharing winning trades on social media. This isn't the source of external pressure. You feel pressure to get into winning trades, so you can share it. You realize this is negatively affecting your performance, so you apply the first filter. You delete your social media profiles and focus on yourself. Ruthlessly efficient. The pressure dissipates, and you have more energy to devote to your process. So you're no longer thinking about impressing somebody on social media. You're literally only thinking about making the optimal decision whenever the time arises. So then the second filter, playing to your strengths. So with the first filter, you want to just eliminate the majority of what I would describe as lower value tasks, and lower value relationships, all that sort of thing, that just do not serve your priorities, and free up mental bandwidth that we can choose to use elsewhere. As we all say with trading, processes are key. So playing to your strengths of trading, I truly believe that in trading, your performance falls to the level of your processes, because like with trading, there is no magic. There's no, like, it's just this literally, it's your processes, your trading processes repeated consistently over weeks, years, months, decades. And that's basically what it is. So it's very important that we're clear on what are the key processes that allow us to make the optimal decision when it is required. And then we can, having sort of eliminated a lot of the lower value tasks, a lot of the things that sort of drain our mental energy, drain our decision making powers, we then want to focus that energy sort of on these sort of the processes that serve us. Again, what these processes are vary from person to person. So some commonalities will be likely, like, I'm pretty sure everyone is going to be doing pre-session analysis, post-session markup, and journaling their trades. Like, they're pretty standard. Then others will be dependent on the individual. Do you meditate pre-session? Do you do mindset journaling on the side? Do you do affirmations? Again, maybe do a bit of exercise before session, whatever it takes just for you to be in the optimal headspace. Yeah, so then basically when our edge presents, we want to be in a position to make the optimal decision relative to our trading plan, which is purely what trading is. Whatever you need to be in a position to do this, then that will be part of your trading process. So again, as I said, meditation, exercise, eating a good diet, whatever you find helps you perform optimally. So Just do a quick summary. Our job as a trader can be summarized as making the optimal decision relative to our trading plan at the point that it is required. We're all subject to sources of pressure, both internal and external. This results in us feeling a pressure to perform, which conversely negatively affects our ability to make the optimal decision, resulting in poor performance, which is ironically the exact thing that we want to avoid. The main reason for this is that just grappling with the sort of pressures, it reduces the mental bandwidth that we have to devote to our trading. It's as simple as that, really. It's like, you know yourself when you're trading and you don't have that much, you lack the clarity, whether you're not that familiar with a plan, you're not that comfortable, you're taking a few losses, and you can just feel yourself whenever it comes to placing a trade, you can just feel yourself going back and forth. Yes, no, will I take it? Won't I take it? Yes, it's valid. No, it's not high probability. Whereas you want to eliminate as much of that as possible. You just want to be able to say, no, it does not fit my trading plan. Yes, it does fit my trading plan, and just hit it. Optimal decision at the point that it is required. So yeah, grappling with the pressures, it increases the probability of making a suboptimal decision at the point it is required. And this results in missed trades, invalid trades, and ultimately poor performance. And then the most dangerous thing, taking the odd invalid trade, missing the odd trade, it's not going to absolutely cripple you. But with most mindset things, the danger is that it can kick off the negative spiral. That, you take a couple of losses and then you hesitate on the winner, and then you miss the winner, and then things just spiral. You take a couple, you start forcing things, and then next thing you're down 5 or 6 or as opposed to down 2. Using the decision making filters to reduce the number of decisions we have to make on a daily basis, freeing up the mental bandwidth to work on our goals. So obviously with the filters, we want to maximize efficiency and optimize speed, which basically reduce the amount of decisions we have to make, and basically ruthlessly get rid of it. Don't even think about it as quickly as possible. So the two filters: prioritization, speed, and controlling the flow. So again, what are your priorities? Know what they are and quickly say, yes, this serves me, no, it doesn't. And then literally just controlling what you allow into your headspace. Because yeah, your headspace, you know yourself when you spend time with like negative people and you come away thinking of, you come away negative because the people rub off. And it's like, I remember Phil Graham, some of you might know him. He's a big, he used to be like an online coach, but he's like basically a fitness business coach. And I've sort of known him for years. And it's like, I remember 6 or 7 years ago, I was talking to him, and you would talk to the man about business or something, and you would come away and you'd literally feel like all is right in the world. You'd feel energized to go and actually do something, to take a risk. Whereas if you would talk to like an average, say one of your friends about starting a business, all they're going to say is, oh, somebody else is doing that. Oh, that's too expensive. They're just literally focusing on the negatives. So who and what you let in your headspace is massively important, because it does influence you, no matter how mentally strong you are. If you're surrounded by negativity all the time, it's gonna rub off on you. And again, that's sort of part of the reason why I did end up sort of cutting myself away from my friends for a while, which I say I don't really regret doing, because it had to be done at the time. But a lot of people won't do that and sort of end up just to hang around the same people, live the same lives, and then never really get to, and then they turn 40 or 50 and they turn around, oh, sort of wasted my life here. And then the second filter, play into your strengths. Know what you're good at, know what you need to do to make sure you're in the optimal place for trading. And just focus on that. Focus on the activities, the tasks, the habits that really move the needle for you in trading, and put as much of your energy as possible into that there. Like, allocate your chips efficiently or effectively, whatever you want to say. And just really focus on that there. Like, really focus on the things that move the needle for your trading, as opposed to wasting your time on low value tasks that drain your energy, drain your decision making. So that's where the two filters come in. And like, you can look at, obviously this is through the lens of trading, because obviously we're all traders, but like, you can apply these filters to anything. Whether it's business, whether it's your work, whatever it is. So then an exercise, you want to identify the sources of pressure that drain your mental bandwidth and affect your ability to make the optimal decision. You can go over both the internal and the external. So obviously the internal is going to be like sort of your weaknesses in like your mindset or your self-image, things like that there. And, you know, if you find yourself wanting to, you know, seek an external validation from the markets, you know, to prove you're a good trader, then you're going to want to work on like your self-image so that your image of yourself as a good trader is not caught up directly in the results you're having. You know, you have a winner and you feel like a good trader, you have a couple of losers, you feel like a bad trader. You want to have your self-image tied up in as much as like the processes as possible. Like, you know, do you show up every day? What are your habits? You know, do you do what you need to do on a daily basis? And then obviously the external, as we said, more difficult. You know, relationships, financial pressures, things like that there. You know, financial pressures, you want to just I remember I had a conversation with somebody in the Discord over the weekend about, you know, when to quit your job, whatever. It's like, that's a really tricky one, because a lot of the traders I know who are full-time now would tell you that they burnt their bridges too soon. Like I definitely did, but it was partly related to COVID, just because COVID hit. I was working as like a consultant with like retail pharmacies, and basically COVID hit, the retail side of the business has just died. It was basically all just like the medical side, vaccines. So I could see things were sort of dying down at that point. I'd already decided trading was what I was going to do. So I just basically took the opportunity. But at the same time, I had very low overheads, and I had sort of like I didn't go anywhere like for, I think it was nearly 2 years. Basically, like, didn't go on any holidays running. So everyone sort of burns their bridges, but just don't be naive. Like, especially if you haven't at least shown you can be consistent for like 3 months or something. Like, if you haven't shown you can be consistently profitable on either a funded account or real capital, like, I'm not talking about like passing challenges or demo accounts. Like, you have to be proven that you're actually able to handle the mental side of it, because trading for a living, trading real capital is completely different to like hitting numbers on a challenge or an FTMO trial or whatever. And anyone that tells you different is lying. So financial pressure, yeah, you just want to mitigate that as much as possible by not making naive decisions. And then like a buffer is absolutely invaluable. That's the first thing I would sort of do, because you want to approach your trading and be able to say, if I don't hit a winning trade for the next 6 months, I'm fine. You just don't want that pressure that you have to hit 10 or a month or 20 or a month. You just don't want that, because again, it just messes with your head. You're constantly thinking about it. It drains your mental energy. And then whenever it comes to actually trading, then it's going to mess you up. Again, you want, as with all the mindset things, you want to get as specific as possible with how they affect you. Like if your self-image is affecting you, you know, whenever it comes to pulling the trigger, you know, after you have a few losses, you sort of start thinking you're a bad trader, etc. Get really granular about, oh yeah, I feel like a sinking feeling in my stomach. It's like the voice in my head is basically telling me I'm not good enough. I'm thinking about people who told me I wasn't going to make it as a trader and how they were right and how they'd be laughing at me now. It's like, get really specific with that, and then sort of when you really understand how it affects you, then that's when you can sort of mitigate the effects and start to build. You know, you can start positively building your self-image, or that applies to them. So then use the two filters to determine how you can eliminate the drain on your mental resources caused by these pressures. Again, ruthlessly efficient. If it doesn't serve you, if it doesn't serve your goals, just cut it. And you want to, again, you don't really want it to even be a decision. You just want it to be as clear as yes, no. As you do with your trading plan, you just want it to be, is this trade I should take? Yes. Is this trade I should take? No. Does this serve me as a trader? Yes or no? And you just don't even want to have to think about it too much. Yeah, just if it doesn't work for you, don't be afraid to cut it out. Control your headspace. And then get clear on your priorities. You know, what do you want to focus on? Like, obviously, whether it's family, trading, whatever, it's like, think about how you can redirect the energy that you previously wasted grappling with the pressures into positive actions that move you towards your goal. Again, strategically place your chips. You want to take your chips away from the negative people, and you want to basically play them yourself and let them get the return on investment on them. Yeah, and the same can apply to family. Like, you know, if you freed up mental time, maybe you can spend more time with your kids, or maybe do more constructive stuff for your girlfriend, boyfriend, whatever. It's literally just about controlling. As I said earlier, like being in control of your time, how you spend your time is like the ultimate freedom, and you just want to be, you want to preserve your energy so that you can spend as much of that as possible on what you want to do. Now, I know we're all probably at a stage of our career now or where we're trying to make it in trading, like we're probably massively focused on that, but maybe in 5-10 years time, maybe families will be a bigger priority, maybe you know, wife, whatever. So yeah, just understand you want to stop wasting your energy on low value tasks that don't serve you, and start putting the energy into you know, basically whatever it is you want to do, tasks that move you closer to your goals. I think, yeah, that is that. So does anyone have any questions or any comments or anything about that?
I have a question. I'm new here, so please don't shoot me if my question doesn't sound right to you. Did you ever consider to create an automation script, or I don't know, an indicator in TradingView to reduce the decision-making errors that you had?
No, we don't really believe in indicators, to be honest. I think it's better off just learning how to apply the concepts manually. Any of the indicators I've seen, basically, they didn't really work. So I think everyone, well, maybe it's something people will decide to do later, further down the road in their journey, but I think everyone sort of, when they're starting out, should learn how to just map each component of the strategy and the charts themselves, and sort of, because at the end of the day, indicators, a big issue with indicators is when volatility changes. Quite often the indicators are usually based, a lot of them, on volatility, and then when the volatility changes in the market, like as it happened with the war in Ukraine, then all of a sudden the indicators completely stop working. Whereas, and plus, an indicator by definition is a lagging indicator, so it lags behind sort of the changes in the market. Whereas when the way we use discretion for pullbacks now, you're constantly just sort of moving with the volatility in the market, just by gauging what is the significant pullback and what are the internal pullbacks in it, as opposed to, you know, the indicator is generally, it's generally a month or so before you realize the indicator isn't optimal anymore, because it hasn't moved with the volatility, and it's a lagging indicator by definition. So Lud, if it's something you want to look into yourself, feel free, but we do encourage everyone to sort of focus on mastering the individual components without sort of using an indicator.
Got it. Thanks.
Any other questions or? Ali, so many great ideas and definitely helpful to me. Any tips how to get over anxiousness when you place a trade and try not to be attached to it? There's always going to be a degree of anxiousness there. The most important thing is that you just don't act on it. But like the best traders in the world still experience emotions. They just don't act on the emotions, so they don't let it basically affect their decision making. Like they don't trail the stop prematurely or whatever. So there is always going to be a degree of anxiousness there. Personally, the best thing I found is just get up and walk away from the screen and not sit watching the price action. Maybe set an alert for if you get taken out for break even, or if you need to trail to break even, but just don't sit on the charts is the best tip. But yeah, Lord, it's completely natural, so I wouldn't get disheartened. You just have to learn not to give into it, and then Lord, as you get better technically, as you get a clearer idea of your trading plan, then you're generally more confident in saying, yeah, the trade fits me plan, I'm happy to accept the risk and letting it play out. Whereas when you're not as experienced and you're sort of not as confident in what is or isn't a good trade, what you should and shouldn't be taking, then it's more of an issue. So it will get better with time as well. Yeah, go on ahead, Kadar.
Hi, good evening, Matt. How are you?
Fine, how are you?
Great. Matt, I have sent you a screenshot of today's Euro USD session of London. So could you please go through that screenshot and could you just tell me that whether what I have marked it just makes sense or not? Because during this session, I was seeing that people are making efforts at different points, but at that point, what I was seeing the market was like this. So I literally want to know that what I'm watching is right or I'm missing something in it.
Um, kind of hard to for me to give feedback only on an M1 screenshot. From what I understand, this price, I haven't been on the charts. I basically was at the dentist before I did this, so I don't actually know where Euro. I think this was New York price action, if memory serves, and I haven't actually sat on the charts in New York. I'd post my markup after this, and then if you have any questions, whatever, you can ask me in the Discord. Is that all right? Because I'm not familiar with this bit of price action where price was sitting, what the M15 POI was like.
Okay.
All right, sorry about that. You usually am on the charts, but I've just been out and I haven't really been watching the charts all afternoon. But
So I can just justify after you put your analysis after that. Then if I have any doubt, then I can ask over Discord.
yeah, just if you have any questions, I'll tag me in one of the channels in Discord and I'll get back to you.
Okay. Thanks very much, David.
All right. Alex, this psychology workshop has come at the perfect time for me. Every topic hit home so much and has given me clarity and an extra little boost that was clearly needed. Appreciate your efforts in this, David. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's like psychology is like Alex is a very good trader. He's experienced, but it's like psychology, it generally becomes more of an issue the more experience you get because you realize how powerful it is. And when you're in the early days, it's generally just you're hitting every M1 chalk and then you're banking 10 or occasionally and you're probably profitable at the end of the month doing that. But it's not really scalable. So it's like Alex is like a great trader, knows what he's doing, but clearly understands the power of psychology. So if you're slightly earlier in your journey, you mightn't fully grasp the importance of the psychological side of training, but the more you can sort of learn about it now, the more it will benefit you as you move forward in your journey. Does anyone have any other questions or? Yeah, that's it. It's like trading can be a very, very, very lonely game. And in a lot of cases, like I absolutely despise the trading industry. And I probably shouldn't say that, but it's like for every one good person I've met in it, there's probably been 10 idiots. And I probably shouldn't say that. But that's sort of the way it is. It generally just attracts like get rich quick merchants. And I personally feel like a responsibility, and I know Matt and Tomas do as well, to sort of tell it like it is. And it's very easy to sort of fall into the trap to think that trading comes easily to people and that they pick it up in a matter of weeks or months. But it's like it's a hard game and it's constant involvement. It's like you're constantly learning, you're constantly getting better, and as soon as you sort of overcome one obstacle, you learn another obstacle, which is that's part of the reason why I love it. Like it's a never-ending challenge. Like, and yeah, it's like I just feel that responsibility, like to sort of work on this mindset stuff, just to assure people that like people struggle with this stuff, everyone goes through it, and that it is possible to sort of overcome it if you just put the work in. So I'm glad you find it valuable. Cheers, Charlie. Have a good one. So any other questions, or will we call it a day there? Right. Well, as I said, I'm trying to put together like a more structured sort of mindset program as opposed to just a series of random sort of presentations, as I really want to build something that sort of, as I said earlier, bridges the gap between like technical proficiency and consistent profitability, because there is quite a significant gap there. And I think that's why a lot of people ultimately sort of struggle to really, move to the next level where they are making consistent profits. So I'm going to try and just sort of build a program that's as practical as possible, sort of that will educate and empower people to overcome this. So that's sort of my goal. I'll hopefully have sort of the first part of it coming in the next 4 weeks or so. That's that then, guys. Thanks very much for your time. As always, hopefully you took something from that. And if you have any questions around about it, just tag me in the mindset channel or whatever, or the questions channel, and I'll get back to you. Thanks very much, guys. Have a good day, and I'll chat to you in the Discord. Bye.